Todd Blanche's nomination to be Attorney General is on life support. Two key Republican senators say they are not ready to support him unless they get ironclad written assurances from the White House that President Trump's so-called anti-weaponization fund is dead, along with the deal he made with the IRS to avoid tax audits. But moments ago, President Trump posted that he's not making any deals. Quote, John Cornyn of Texas and Thom Tillis of North Carolina, both of whom I refuse to endorse and whose political careers have been ended by my action, are refusing to vote for this great nominee who will remain in any event as acting. I have no objection to temporarily withdrawing Todd's name if they do not do the right thing and putting him back after Cornyn and Tillis are out of office. Now, Cornyn and Tillis, their demands are two things Blanche himself agreed to in his confirmation hearing, but something or someone appears to be blocking Blanche from putting it in writing.
I thought we were pretty close to landing the plane last night, but this morning there's been some more complications. I think if this were just between me and Todd Blanche, we would have worked this out, but apparently he's getting some pushback from higher-ups at the White House.
I'm going to get straight to Manu Raju on Capitol Hill. Manu, let's translate that. If it's not Todd Blanche, he's talking about higher-ups at the White House. There's one guy we're talking about, and that's the president, right?
Yeah, it very well could be. Now, both Cornyn and Thom Tillis both were hesitant in directly blaming the president. They say they don't really know if the president's involved. Cornyn believes it's people in the White House themselves. He said he doesn't know if the president's involved. Tillis is blaming the president's advisors. And I actually just caught up with Senator Tillis about the president's suggestion that he may withdraw Todd Blanche and simply renominate him once both Tillis and Cornyn are gone come next January. And he basically said, go right ahead, Mr. President. And he also sharply criticized those around the president who he says are giving him bad advice.
My reaction is the president's getting bad advice. He should listen to Blanche and others who think if it's dead, it should be rendered completely dead.
What do you mean he's getting bad advice? I mean, this is the president making that decision.
Somebody's telling him to not do what Blanche said they were going to do. Whoever that person is giving the president bad advice. The only reason why we would move forward with this language is because that same advisor wants to bring it back to life at some point.
He's in the advisors, but it's the president.
You can draw that conclusion, Manu, and I can draw one that's got my eyes on the target.
And that's been very a common phrase of Thom Tillis as he's criticized the White House, oftentimes blames others in the White House. He didn't name any presidential advisor there, but in the past he's blamed people like Stephen Miller repeatedly for various things that the president has done. But on this issue, John Cornyn also has suggested that perhaps it's the White House lawyers themselves who have intervened. Cornyn believed, Dana, that there could have been a deal reached between him and Todd Blanche over those main issues because Blanche himself testified that the $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund, money that could have gone to January 6 rioters, that was all that was dead. That was not going to move forward. He simply wanted it in writing. He also simply wanted it in writing that Trump and his family and associates would not be shielded from future IRS tax audits, what was in line with Todd Blanche's testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee, but they were never able to get it in writing, and perhaps because of resistance from the White House, perhaps because of resistance from Donald Trump, but now it's very, very clear. Todd Blanche's nomination all but collapses. The president now doing an end run around Congress will keep him in his acting capacity and then try to renominate him next year. But who knows at that point who will control the Senate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good point. Manu. Not Manu. But the whole idea that Senator Tillis said, I'm going to keep my eye on the target, I mean, who knows what that means? I guess the most important thing to remember is that the president very much is in control, whether it's people who are advisors or members of his legal team or not. The president can be the decider here, as he is on everything. Manu, thank you. Appreciate it. Jeff Zeleny, what are you hearing from your sources?
Well, look, there is no doubt that the president could stop this at any moment, and he could have resolved this. But as you were just saying there, quite astutely, I mean, he clearly does not want to. He's not going to give John Cornyn an inch on this. Now, all of this could have been completely avoided had the president just stayed out of the Texas Republican Senate primary. That did not happen. But I think the more interesting thing is talking to people around the White House this morning. Lawyers definitely are involved in this, but again, it's the president's decision here, and I think he does not want to look like he is giving something to John Cornyn. But the tax audit is much more important than anything else here, because look at everything that is happening. But to Manu's point at the end, I mean, it is very much an open question. Even if they would try and do this in the lame duck session after in November, how many Republicans would be on board with this? There are many Republicans, or a handful of Republicans, who are leaving after the term is up. And this, again, if Lindsey Graham was here, this would not be the case, because he would have been the vote to get it out of a committee. I mean, it may have been still this underlying issue, but this is one of the real world effects here of a narrow majority. Yeah, that's a good point. And on the point you were making earlier about the tax issue, we've been talking so much about this anti-weaponization fund, but the other thing that seems to be maybe the biggest sticking point, I know you just came from Capitol Hill, is the deal that the president and his lawyers made with Todd Blanche and the IRS, that he wouldn't be responsible for any audits in the past. This is what John Cornyn just put on social media himself. POTUS is mistaken. He believes concerns about the provisions in his tax lawsuit settlement are limited to me and Senator Tillis.
Yeah, we were even earlier this year, a number of senators, including Murkowski and Collins, they essentially started Senate recess early, did not vote on what Trump wanted, which was more funding for the Department of Homeland Security, because they wanted assurances that the anti-weaponization fund was debunked. They ultimately got that. We saw that funding pass through. But you know, especially yesterday, there were a lot of people wondering, why are they so insistent? Manu got that question into Cornyn. Cornyn said, you know, this is not revenge. Which makes you wonder, okay, fine. If it's not revenge, then are they the ones taking the arrows for a number of senators trying to prevent this vote in committee so that it doesn't go to the floor and potentially hurt Susan Collins, who's obviously in a very tough race, and potentially other senators? Like, I'm hearing that potentially the Kansas Senate race, Republicans are starting to worry about that. There's worries in Montana, obviously Alaska, states that should be ones that Republicans can easily win in this election cycle. So they might be helping their colleagues here too.
Because they're lame ducks, so they're just, they're the ones quacking.
Exactly. You know, they are basically sort of the YOLO caucus at this point. They don't owe Donald Trump anything. If you're John Cornyn, you're mad that he essentially tanked his chances to remain in the Senate. But yeah, we don't know how broad the objection is to Todd Blanche, because there's a lot to object to when it comes to Todd Blanche, and a lot of worries in terms of who he would be in this position. Would he essentially be Donald Trump's hatchet man? Set aside, you know, this weaponization fund. He's a person who, during the confirmation hearing, essentially said he's Donald Trump's lawyer, right? And it was sort of a slip of a tongue, but it was also, I think, sort of an acknowledgement that he does see himself as somebody who wants to carry out Donald Trump's wishes, particularly around weaponization of the Justice Department.
And just staying on this incredible tension between the president and Senate Republicans, generally speaking, it's now bearing out even more publicly on the Senate Majority Leader. Yesterday in the Oval Office, here's what the president said.
Do you think Senate Majority Leader John Thune, after the comments you heard regarding Save America and some other stuff, do you think he's still the man for the job?
Well, we're going to find out, and I'll let you know.
This just in, Senator John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, responded.
What he said to the president is not giving a vote of confidence. What he said to the president,
on the
what he said
line
to the
with
president.
respect. When's the last time we talked to the president?
Hard to hear. It was quick. He doesn't get a vote, meaning he's not somebody who votes for the Senate leader.
Exactly. And Senator Thune made very clear there, look, there are some Republican senators who would not vote for John Thune, but the vast, vast majority would vote for John Thune, and they have his back. So this interference from the White House is not helpful, obviously, in Senator Thune's mind. But again, and we'll have to limit our time saying this, but this is one of the other fallouts from Senator Lindsey Graham not being there, because he was a protector of the institution and could listen to the president, but was a very close friend of Senator Thune's, and that was very helpful. So I think in this point going forward, John Thune would probably prefer to be retired some days and back being a grandfather in South Dakota, but he's not. He's the Senate Majority Leader, and he would love the White House to do anything but stay on message, sell their achievements, and the president is picking all these fights. Not helpful, to say the least.
Now, there's obviously so much drama among Republicans, but then there's the very important question of who's going to be the Attorney General. And the point that the president was making in his post just a short while ago was that it can still be Todd Blanche in the acting position. And there is, maybe not for Attorney General, but there is precedent in a Democratic administration for keeping a cabinet member in their role acting for a very long time. Julie Su couldn't get the votes to be confirmed, and she was acting labor secretary for 1 year and 10 months, so almost 2 years.